Hi, welcome to a new episode of the Sweet Kitty Crafts podcast channel. My name is Jolanda and I'm coming to you from the east of the Netherlands. Thank you so very much for joining me again. On social media you can find me as Jolanda Loves Yarn on Ravelry and Instagram. I'm not real active on Instagram, but you can find all my projects on Ravelry. So, a lot has happened since last time. I finished some projects. I took some older projects that I finished that you haven't seen before. And well, let's just get started. The last time I showed you this top, I wanted to modify it. The neckline was way too wide, so I just picked up stitches and just knitted a 1x1 rib. And I think it's way more wearable like this, so I'm quite happy about that. I also showed you the sweater I unraveled. That was the sweater with the tulips. And I told you I unraveled it, but I didn't show you what it will become. So it is finished now. This is the finished object. And it is called the Ditto top. And it is, I can't remember what the designer, it was from a yarn company, but you can see it on my project page. So this was a bottom-up construction. It was an old pattern that is supposed to be seamed and pieced together. So separate sleeves, separate button band, just knit up to the underarms and then assemble everything. So I did it a little bit different. I wanted to use up most of my yarn. I have just a tiny little bit left over, but I had not enough for longer sleeves than this. But it is a very nice little cardigan over a long sleeve tee or something. So I knitted it up to the underarms. Then I did backward loops cast on for the sleeves. So you cast off for the underarms. That's usually how it goes, and then you add the sleeves. But I did not have the sleeves because I did not know how much yarn I had, so I did a backward loop cast on. So that gives very nice loose stitches which you can pick up later very easily. So then I of course did it on both sides, and I finished the whole yoke, which is just a very simple purl and twisted knit stitches. It's very simple, but it looks very beautiful. I think I already wore it a lot. It's beautiful. I made it out of my hand spun, which was a merino silk blend I got from my boys on Christmas. So I had a limited amount of yarn. Well, after I finished the yoke, I did the bottom bands because you can't do without. So I just picked up stitches and knitted it on. I didn't sew it on later because I don't like that. And then what was left over, I just did a little small sleeve with a little 2x2 rib on the end. So yeah, it's very nice. I have some pictures. I can put it in here for you so you can see how it fits me. So that is a nice little cardigan, and I did modify it a bit because usually the gauge of the yarn you use, if you use hand spun, is not what the pattern calls for. But I think I will do a separate video on how to modify and check what size to use when you have a different yarn. I finished the cardigan I was working on the last time, and that was a strawberry summer. And I did not write down who was the designer. I'm sorry, but only needs a few buttons, and I did not try it on yet. But this is how it looks like finished. It is blocked, so it only needs to find some buttons that will match this and there is a leaf. Let me see, a leaf on the shoulder, on the sleeve here. Yep. And yeah, it's just a beautiful cardigan. It is made out of cloud-borne fibers, and that is Peruvian highland wool. That's the content of the wool. And I have a few objects knitted with that, and it just stays very nice. That's the dog. So that's a lot of yarn out of my stash, and that's very nice. So my mother is living in an elderly home right now. That will be her permanent place, and that means that a lot of things has to be done and has changed. It's a big thing for me and for her, especially for her, of course, but also for me. I have to do lots of things. If you have experienced in parent passing away or moving to an elderly home, you know how much work that is. And I just feel like you're spiraling down. Whatever you solve, something else will come back for it, and then you have a parent that is very unhappy about whatever has happened to her the last year and a half. She has a hard time, of course, accepting what has happened, and yeah, that is hard. So preventing yourself from sliding down a black hole, I just needed something to do, something that can totally occupy my brain space, and I can be in a happy place for a little bit. So I remembered doing a lot of test knits, and I was kind of hesitant to do it because I haven't done it in years. But I thought, okay, well, a sock pattern came along, and I thought, okay, you know, you have a deadline, and in this case, it is a thing I have to focus on, and it really helps me. Not with sleeping, unfortunately, because that is still very bad. But yeah, you have to cut through the day, right? So, a sock pattern. The designer is Tanja Lusche. She's a German who lives in Switzerland. Her knitting name is Knitting in Switzerland. So, the sock is still in testing phase, but it is a very nice and easy pattern. And it's just addictive. It's like a stripy yarn. You want to go to the next stripe and the next stripe. Well, this is a stripy yarn and a very simple pattern. I'm not real sure how detailed I can get because it is still testing. But she says we could share it. So this is how they turned out. So it is a very easy texture pattern that will repeat itself every 5th row. So it just flies off the needles. And I used some, I think it was opal yarn, and it was Morning Sterne, I think. Morning Star. This was a German name, so it is probably pronounced a little bit different. But it is amazing. It has a little bit of glitter in there. And I'm not sure if you can see that, but it's just very bright and shiny and lovely colors. And I thought, well, socks, it doesn't really matter what crazy colors you have because, well, just socks, right? I would not wear it probably around my face, but yeah, as a sock it's wonderful. And I wanted just to knit more of them, and I started another one just because I have so much yarn, and I thought, okay, well, I tried it on DPNs, and I ordered some liquor needles. I always have the problem with lettering if I work with DPNs, and I still have that problem. But I think with wooden needles, for me, it gives less of a problem, and yeah, somehow it just really worked for me right now. So it is always a good idea, if you don't like something after a few years, just try it again if you have the needles or whatever. These are the blue ones. I usually have the driftwood, but they weren't there in the right side, so I just chose the blue ones. It doesn't really matter. So this was something of my hand-dyed yarn, and this is another sock getting worked on. It's probably end up in Patrick's closet. He's my youngest son. Both my sons wear the wool socks every day, and I think I looked it up. The most of them were from about 8 till 10 years old, the oldest pairs, and you can see they starting to wear out, and it kind of depends on the yarn that you use, but they last a very long time. So those are the socks, the test knitted socks. I skeined up some hand spun yarn, and I spun that in the last 2 months, I think. It is a very soft merino. I dyed this in a it's a wine red. It shows a little bit pinkish. Maybe it turns out more red when I edit it. I don't know. It is a super soft merino. I was very foolish when I dyed it. I stirred it way too much and it got felted. So it was kind of it was really, it was just a shame. But I don't like to throw it away. So I really stripped it down in very narrow strips, like very narrow, like pencil roving, that kind of narrow. And I managed to spun it all up. So this is, I'm not sure, I think it is 300 grams. And it is still super soft, and it has some lighter spots, of course, in it. Because of the dyeing, you can't get in the middle of the wool roving, and it is a kind of a little bit marbled with white, but it is super soft, and I can add it to my hand spun, which is on the top row over there. There's a little bit more room, and I'm planning to make something very nice out of this, of course. There's lots more hand spun that needs all to be skeined up, and I'll do that just in phases, because it is kind of a workout for the arms, I think. So I want to show you a blanket I made for an advent calendar last Christmas last year. I had an advent calendar which contained little packages of wool, unspun, just wool, in all kind of sheep breeds, and for every day there was a package. It was such a fun advent calendar. So I spun it all up. There were just 24 packages, so I had 24 little balls of wool, and I wanted to make a granny square blanket out of it. And I already had a lot of bare merino spun up. That was a ball of 1 kilo I bought years ago, and I spun that all up too. So this is just an easy square blanket, and it is not a full-size blanket. It's just an easy blanket, and I thought it was a bit a rustic looking blanket, so I did not do any frills on it, just an easy crocheted border. No ruffles. I like ruffles, but I don't think it really suited this one. But it is a lovely blanket, and even if you have central heating in the house in the winter, it still is chilly if you sit near the window. So we like to have a blanket over the lap or whatever, just to cuddle under, or if you take a nap. So yep, it was amazingly fun. And you just can use up all tiny little scraps, because the beginning of the granny square is just such a tiny little bit of yarn you use for that. So yeah, I will put it in. No, I don't think. Oh, it is behind here. Here is my other blanket, a bed size granny square, and I will put this one in there with it. I made a little bit of progress on 2 other sweaters. That was the Suyuri sweater, which is a kind of a complicated one. It had real beautiful neckline I showed you last time. It is a fully charted yoke. It has some bubbles in it. Let's see if I can show that to you without losing any stitches. So it has glitter, it has bubbles, and it is all squished up on the needle, so you can't really see. But yes, it is slowly growing. I just do a few rows every day. The color is just stunning. It has glitter, and yeah, as soon as you separate for the underarm and sleeves, it will just be smooth sailing. So this is yarn I got from Knit Crate years ago, and I ordered some extra because I just really loved it. You can kind of see the bubbles are over there. It is kind of an interesting kind of a bubble. It's not a bubble that can pop in. It is a bubble that is knitted over a few rows. So I really like it. Yeah, it's nice. I have a cat in the basket here, of course. Another pattern I worked on a bit was Fatherland, which is just the one who is like smooth sailing, just the body. And I am working on the ribbing right now. See, it is very close. Already, oh, I'm already binding off, I think. No, not yet. It has a little bit of patterning also at the end of the sleeve, so that will be nice and interesting to do. This is made out of drop snort, and it is a reclaimed yarn, and it is all crinkly, but that is okay. Just have myself my velvet tissue. There's one more thing. I'm working on another test knit because the socks are finished, and I just really enjoyed it. There is the testing pool on Ravelry, and there you can find all the people who are looking for testers. So you just can apply there, and they send you the pattern or the drafted pattern, and you just start knitting, and whatever errors, typos, inconsistency you find, you just report to the designer, and that's actually it. You get the pattern for free at the end, and you have, of course, a beautiful garment that is yours to keep. So this was a crossover cardigan, and it is Sylvia de May. She is French. I'm not sure if I pronounce this correctly. The cardigan hasn't had a name yet, but I saw it and I thought, oh, I have the perfect yarn for it, which is this very soft mohair pastel is called. It's from Ice Yarns. It is a Turkish company, and you order it in usually 400 grams, so this is 4 balls. I have fluff in my mouth. It is a gradient, and I saw it on it. It's like a crossover, right? You have ties in the middle, and I just saw this pinkish fluffy cardigan in my head, and I want to do a few modifications. I have to talk to the designer about it, if I can make the modification now or I can do it later after I finish the test. It is also a possibility. I just want to make the sleeves a little bit flared, and I want to have a scalloped edge around the sleeves, maybe but also around the neckline, because the neckline is all, I don't know, with crochet. I try to do it as neatly as possible, of course, but that is, well, it's not a rough edge, but it is just an edge, right? So you do the raglan increases first. It is a very interesting construction. You can make it in any yarn you want, any thickness you want, except if you go to the extreme, she says, like super bulky and a very tiny body, that might give some problems, but it's kind of just measuring, and yeah. So I'm working on the sleeves right now. See? And I thought if I just flared it out a little bit and just added a scallop border, that would be very nice. I stopped at, I think, about here. So if she doesn't want me to make any modifications, you can choose whatever sleeve length you like. So I will stop right there, and I just start from here. I will make some increases so it will flare out a bit. I think I will and not only do the increases just on the bottom. I think I will do like 4 or 5 in one row just around, and that will probably give me a little bit of a trumpet sleeve. I don't know what's the name is, but a flared out sleeve. Yeah, and I think I would like to have the same scallops around the edge for the neckline. I think that would also. I just in my mind I just saw a romantic pinky fluffy cardigan. She had a totally different look, which is very nice, very nice. She had a more sportive look. So it's kind of a little thing to try to match up the sleeves in the color order. I hope. Well, it is. It's probably not extremely matching, but it is for the eye. It is matching enough. So as soon as I have the sleeves complete, you go onto the body and just go on and on and on and increase here until it just crosses over, and that is a very easy construction. I'm looking forward to it. This is a very soft yarn, and I did it also. I tested out different hook sizes to find out what gives a bit of a drapey, because crochet gets very stiff very easily, and that is not so very preferable. That is usually, I think, the problem with crocheting, the stiffness of the fabric if you use it for clothing. But yeah, I think this will be fine, and I'm curious to see how it turns out, if it is going to be like I think it will be. And yeah, I think I will really enjoy this one. It might be a nice just over a top in the evenings when it is warm, or I can see totally wear it with a long sleeve tee and then in fall or something like that. I think that would be very nice too. So I rambled very fast, I think. So we're already finished with everything. I hope you're having a great time. We had some real warm weather a few days, like 27, 28, and it was real muggy. We had there was not much sun. It was just clouds. And yesterday we had a massive thunderstorm. It's like there was so much water in the backyard. I just saw a little froggy just float by. He was having the time of his life. It was so much fun to see. And there was so much wind. I think we're going to have some more thunderstorms today. They sent out a warning for thunderstorms. Well, that's okay. It will cool down nicely and get the heat out of the house, which is nice. It is still spring over here, so high temperatures are not so preferable. Well, I hope you're doing well. You can always send me messages wherever I am. I'm Jolanda Loves Yarn. You can leave comments below. It would be very nice to hear where you're from, what you're working on, or whatever you want to say, talk to me about. It would be very nice. Thank you so very much for watching, and I will definitely be back. Bye-bye. Totally forgot to tell you about my cabinets I got for Mother's Day for my two fantastic boys. I'll just show you. For the Dutch people and maybe the German people, this is ordered by Lidl. And these are a total of 4 cabinets. So where the bigger white line is where one ends, and it has like 2 by 3, and all the way on top, that is my hand spun. See? And that is just a pile of acrylic. This is Drops Fable and Drops Flora. Drops Flora. Hand-dyed yarn. Hand-dyed yarn in sport weight. That is mostly from Knit Crate, except from that one in the blue one, which has the Sweet Kitty Yarn logo on it. This is Drops Charisma. Here's Drops North with just one pile of the red in the front. Is Drops Lima. I just wanted to try that out for a garment. There's more Drops North. Well, there is a blended 2 blankets. I just put one in. There's more Drops Charisma. This is Cloudborn Fibers. The basket in there is sock yarn. That are just single skeins with my sock blockers. A little bit of an cross stitch. In that basket is the sock yarn. And here are just, in the bottom are all just baskets. That one has all cotton yarn, and the rest is just alls and ends and single skeins and just small little balls for whatever project. So I'm extremely happy with this. I'm so happy.